Right, brilliant. Hi, Gaspar. Hope you're doing well. I'll just begin by saying I thought the film was remarkable, but I couldn't wait to leave that apartment. It was an immersive, claustrophobic affair, and obviously a very upsetting film in some ways too. When I left the cinema, I felt the air on my face felt so sort of needed, and that's after spending just 2 hours in their company. You spent months shooting, editing this movie.
The shooting was quite fast. We shot the movie over 5 weeks. Initially, we said we would shoot in 20 days, but we had some health accidents on the set, and so it took 25 days. So it was 5 weeks.
Because I just wondering,
we did with the days were quite short also because Dario doesn't like working overtime, and also he's used to, as a director, to do 1, 2, 3 takes maximum. So after the second take, do you really need it? So it was not like when I was shooting with the dancers of Climax, I would shoot 12 takes. But now in this case, we're doing 3 takes, 4 takes, grand maximum.
Yeah, because when I left, like I said, was saying, I felt like I was quite pleased to be free of that quite sort of suffocating environment. Well, how was it for you at the end? Did it almost feel quite freeing when you were able to finish this project?
The mood on the set was really good. There were no fights at all. Everybody was very respectful of the actors. The actors were respectful of the crew. The crew, everybody was wearing a mask. It was very tiny. So the weird thing is that there was a permanent paranoia linked to the COVID. We shot it during confinement, and the only 4 persons allowed not to wear a mask were the 3 actors who had been vaccinated, and myself, because I had cheated to be vaccinated, although I wasn't old. But and I was taking care of one of the 2 cameras. I was operating the one of the cameras, and when you carry the camera, you sweat a lot. And so I was taking my mask off, but the mood was very weird. I think all the moods shot during confinement had weird moods on the set, and in this case, because the flat was really small, it felt like being in a submarine for 5 weeks.
Obviously the film is presented in kind of split screen. At what stage do those creative and technical decisions happen for you? Are you one of those filmmakers who knows exactly what he wants from the offset, or can your process be more fluid and spontaneous?
I try to create a documentary mood on the set. So once I have the location, once I have the people I'm going to be filming, and that once they had put their clothes on, at least the characters' clothes on, then I don't write the dialogues for them. I don't decide in advance where the camera is going to be. I just let them take find the places where they want to stand or sit, and then once they take possession of the space, I decide where I put my camera or my 2 cameras. So I was trying to get as close as possible to a documentary. So also we're not using any additional light. We're just using the light of the day, like the one here.
So with that in mind, how long is a script for something like this? It can't be too long.
Well, when I started shooting, the whole script was a treatment, or like a long synopsis of 10 pages. It contained every single scene in half a page or in a page, but it would describe the subjects of the dialogues that were in the scenes, but it did not. I did not write any precise words on for the dialogues, and also, like at the very end of the movie, we thought it would be good to add a prologue to the movie, like one scene in which you could see the mother not being demented yet. So we shot that one on the last day, and we put it at the beginning of the movie.
The film is sort of universal in many ways, as people have to deal with this, if not specifically about Alzheimer's and dementia, but at the very least, just watching parents getting older and more fragile. Do you think on this occasion, the character Stefan channeled you as a filmmaker as it did for us, the audience?
I think I probably identify more with Dario Argento, the character of the father who's 80 years old. I will certainly be like him when I'm 80, if I get, let's cross fingers, if one day I'm that old. But yeah, he's like an old film critic. That's what he plays in the movie. But all the posters that he has on his walls are the kind of posters like we have on my walls.
Because I mean, people have sort of said this is like something like a departure for you, something a bit different, but I found it as confronting as your previous work, except rather than confronting maybe love or sex or drugs, it was confronting death. And you've always been quite clear in your work that we should have an open dialogue about everything, especially things as universal as like love and sex and stuff. So do you feel similarly with the notion of death? Do you think it should be discussed?
But I think the main thing about this movie is that all my movies are kind of organic. There's no real soul that is not organic. Everything comes from the bones, from the meat, and from the fat that that make you. And yeah, the movie is not nihilistic. It's just, I would say, realistic about how much we are a potato, and we don't get fried in advance. We end up being rotten like all the potatoes.
So I mean, you know, we can't deny that it is a bit of a change of pace for you as a filmmaker. Is this a reflection? Is this movie a reflection of where you are now in your life, would you say?
Right now I'm promoting the movie. I'm happy. They put me in nice hotels. I meet people. I drink, although I shouldn't drink. But yeah, no, my life is quite sweet compared to the life of the characters in the movie. But yeah, I know many of my friends or my closest friends are going through similar situations nowadays. I was in a similar situation 8 years ago when my mother lost her mind, and I had to take care of her with my sister and my father. And yeah, it was those ones were very complex, but they're very universal, as you said. Like in every family, the kids have to take care of their parents after a while, and they become your own babies.
And as a filmmaker, do you see yourself as being innovative, as someone who pushes boundaries, or is innovation something that can only be labeled from the outside? And for you, is this just normal to make films in this creative way?
I'm not really inventing new things. I'm just trying to be playful with the language.
Yeah.
I know my classics, and I have a huge collection of DVDs and Blu-rays. I know that almost every single subject that I treated had been treated before, and every single like cinematic idea I use has been used before. So we have to learn to be humble. Sometimes it takes a whole life. You're pretentious when you're young.
I was going to say, because when I was really interested to see what the that unfinished book on cinema and dreams, that sounded really interesting. Yeah. Is that something that
I wish I could read that book? I was trying to find a book about how dreams are portrayed in cinema, but that book doesn't exist yet. So I thought it was a good subject on which the Dario Argento's characters could be working on.
I mean, I just wanted to ask about directing, Dario. When you're directing such an esteemed director in himself, do you almost have to let him do things his way? Because I guess he knows what he wants from his actors. Do you almost have to let him do what he wants to some degree, if that makes sense?
That's to a full degree, because that's how I convinced him to be in the movie. He's not an actor, so he would not want to learn lines. I said, hey, Dario, if we do this movie, you're going to be directing yourself. You're the director. I'm just a young film student operating one of the cameras that's going to be on set. So you take care of your character. I'll take care of my framing and my editing. And if you like, okay, come over to Paris and let's shoot the movie together. And yeah, so that convinced him that to the movie. He really improvised all the dialogues in the film.
I wanted to speak quickly as well about the set design, because I mean the sort of towering kind of bookshelves, the kind of the mess surrounding is quite suffocating. It's like a labyrinth in that house. It almost feels like you can't see above the kind of books. Was it a very precise design? Obviously it looks like a mess.
I have many friends, especially film critics, who have apartments that are exactly like that. Yeah. But in this one, there was another additional particularity. The ceiling was very low, and I could touch it with my hand. So yeah, it's even more claustrophobic. And to be shooting in such a tiny apartment during the COVID confinement, it was very suffocating. but we found an empty building that we rented for the shooting, and it was fully decorated. It took the art designer 3 weeks to find all the books, all the shelves, and make like a real house out of nothing. And people who were coming to the set, they all believed that people were really really living in that location. I said, no, it's we recreated everything. And they say, no, it looks too real. Even the fridge was full of food getting rotten, and I wanted that because I wanted the set to be smelly.
Yeah, you could I could smell it from the cinema. But you mentioned obviously it's being shot in the kind of during the kind of pandemic and stuff. And the pandemic was a time when so many of us stopped and reevaluated life, and we all got a lot. So in many ways got lost in our own thoughts and stuff. I wondered, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, did the pandemic change you? Do you think you're a different filmmaker?
It helped me. It brought me back to my adolescence, during which I was watching 1-2 movies a day. I spent like a whole year watching all the film classics that I had missed. I discovered Andrei Rublev, The Rules of the Game, and I discovered like the whole filmography of Mizoguchi and Naruse and Kinoshita. So yeah, I was very happy, like on my bed watching DVDs and Blu-rays all day long.
So it
was a good, and probably those Japanese melodramas from the 50s that were as adult as they were cruel, they inspired me for this movie.
Is there anything still on your list you've not seen that you still need to catch?
Oh yeah, there's still some movies that I've missed.
Yeah, you can't see everything.
I don't know. For example, after this interview, I'm going to go to the shop called FOP to buy Blu-rays. In many cities, the DVD and Blu-ray shops are disappearing. Hopefully, there are good ones in London. So
do you have quite a big DVD collection still?
Yeah.
It probably looks a bit like The Flat movie. So I wanted to speak about what's kind of coming up next. I mean, obviously you're sort of sort of one of those filmmakers. Every movie feels so kind of challenging and sort of in a brilliant way and different to the last. But I just wondered if you've got started yet on what your next project could be.
Seriously, I don't know. I know that I would like to do documentary, because the good thing about documentaries, you don't need to prepare it. And you're like researching like a detective, but and also for many years I was saying that I would like to do a movie about a religion or a cult in which all the evil people do their things in the name of God.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
The most reptilian people, I don't know if I don't think they're evil people, they're reptilian people.
So my final question really was, I was just wondering, because I mean, it's obviously you had to convince Dario to come and perform in your movie. I just wondered, would you ever consider going now as an actor in another filmmaker's movie, and what sort of filmmaker would it take to entice you in?
I'm narcissistic in a weird way, but it's not about showing my face, so I'm not really attracted by showing my face. If it happens, it happens. But if the movie is worse, once I met the guy who, that's all. What's his name? The guy who directed Independence Day. Roland Emmerich. And I said, oh, if you do another movie with aliens, I wouldn't mind being killed and dismembered by an alien. And so he said, oh, okay, one day probably. So I like those movies, those zombie movies and Martian movies.
I could see you getting dismembered by an alien. Do you reckon, just very finally, actually, before I do go, do you reckon you could see yourself making movies, directing as long as Dario has been? I mean, obviously he's, sort of 80, approaching 80. I mean, could you see yourself remaining in this industry and making films as long as that?
I hope so. Probably I'll be doing Love 4D.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Yeah.
Back. And he's teaching sex to his son.
Well, when that comes out, I'm sure I'll interview you again. Maybe next time it'll be in person. Who knows? But thank you so much for your time today, Gaspar. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!